Hi guys, in this beginner tutorial, we're going to learn how to model a simple table in Blender 2.8. Perfect if you're a beginner to modeling and even Blender. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing that we want to do is we want to get rid of the camera and the lamp because we're not going to really need it in the modeling. So right click to select the camera, then hit X on your keyboard and then delete. Do the same for the lamp, hit X and then delete. Now we're going to be using the cube as the basis to start modeling the table. So go ahead and right click to select the cube if it isn't already. Then what we want to do is we want to go to the top view. So either you can go to view and then change viewpoint to top view, or you can hit the 7 key on the numpad to go straight into the top view. Once you're there, we're going to toggle to the edit mode. So you can go from object mode to edit mode, or alternatively, you can hit the tab key on your keyboard to toggle between the two. So I'm just going to go into edit mode because we want to play around with the vertices. So right now we don't have any of our vertices selected. So hit A on your keyboard to select all the vertices. Blender, if you want to select all vertices, you hit A. And if you want to deselect, you double tap A. So I'm just going to hit A on my keyboard to select all vertices. And what we're going to do in top view, I'm going to hit SY 0.6. So what that does is it will scale on the Y axis. So if I hit SY, it scales on the Y axis down to 0.6. So for example, if I hit SY2, it will scale on the Y axis 2 times. If I go SY5, it'll scale it on the Y axis 5 times. But I don't want my table to be too wide. I want it to be almost halfway. So that's why I did 0.6 instead of 0.5. So I'm quite happy with the width of the table. The length of the table, I'll keep it at the default. The reason is in Blender, if you go to the scene tab and under units, you'll see that it's metrics. So that means one box in Blender represents 1 meter squared. So this is 1 meter, this is 1 meter. And so the length of the table will be 2 meters. So this table is about 2 meters long and about nearly 1.5 meters wide. Okay, so now for the table height, go ahead and hit 1 on your numpad to go into front view, or again change the view from viewpoint to the front. Then go ahead and hit SZ to scale on the Z axis to 0.02. So that will give the thickness of our table. Then we want to move the entire thing to about 75 centimeters because that's about the average height of a dining table. So I'm going to go ahead and hit GZ 0.75. Or no, that's probably too high. I might go GZ 0.7. That should be okay. So now we have the top part of our table pretty much done. So now let's go ahead and model the legs for our table. To model the legs, I'm not going to go ahead modeling one by one each of the legs, the 4 legs. I want to try and save a lot of time by using mirror modifiers. So in other words, we're going to model one leg and have it automatically mirrored across all the 4 sides. So in order to do this, I'm going to go ahead and start to play with some of the modeling tools that we have available in Blender 2.8. So first off, I want to cut a line right in the middle over here. So go ahead and hit Control R to add a loop cut right in the middle and just left click. And then when you left click, you'll see this option over here to move where you want to add this loop. I'm just going to hit right click to put it right in the middle, just like that. Okay, and then once you've done that, just go ahead and select these 4 verts over here and then hit X and then delete vertices. So we've deleted half the table. Cool. And once you've done that, we're going to go to the modifiers panel, hit add modifier, and then we're going to hit mirror. And then let's go ahead and in mirror modifier, we're going to enable clipping as well. So that means if I move this vertex, it won't move. Like for example, if I turn off clipping and then move the vertices, you can see that you can pretty much take your model out. Like you can rip the model from the halfway point. But if I turn on clipping, you can't do anything with it. It's stuck. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so now you can see that if I start to add the legs, so if I go ahead and add another cube, oops, sorry, not that big. Let's move it here, add a cube, scale it down, and put it over here. You can see that we have our legs mirrored onto the other side. But I guess that's not really all. We can also do the same for this side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control R, add another loop cut on this side as well, then right click just to put it into place, then select these 4 verts and go ahead and delete those vertices as well. Then what we want to do is we want to add yet another modifier and another mirror modifier. But this time we don't want it to be on the x-axis, just like the first one. We want it to be on the green one, the y-axis. So turn off X and turn on Y. So now you can see that when we start to model the legs, it's mirrored across all the sides, which is perfect for us in terms of modeling the table. So let's go ahead and add the legs. What I did earlier is if you put the 3D cursor over here and add a cube, you'll see that you can't separate out the cube. It gets stuck because we enabled clipping. To fix that, you can either turn off clipping and then move the cube out and then turn on clipping again. Or you can just, an easier way is just to simply just keep clipping turned on for both of them. And then just move the 3D cursor away and then put your cube in place. So once you have your cube for the legs, go ahead and select one vertice and hit Control L to select all the vertices that are linked. We don't want to have any vertices from the top table selected. If it is, just hit double A to deselect everything, and then select hover over your cube and then just hit L just to select only the legs. Once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and hit SZ and then just scale it up until it sort of reaches the ground. Okay, a little bit less so that we have something like this. I think our table's legs are a bit too fat for a dining table, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit I wanted to scale on every axis apart from the Z axis. I want to keep the same height. In order to achieve that, hit S, Shift Z. So now it will scale on all axes apart from the Z axis. So S, Shift Z. You can see it's highlighted over there. It will only affect the length and the width, not the height. So let's scale it down to what looks about right for a dining table. Something like that. Cool. From the side view, let's just move it in a little. Oops. From the front view, let's move it in a little. All right. Okay. So once we arranged the way we want our legs to look, might make it a little bit more fatter actually. So S Shift Z, might make it a bit thick there. And just to make our dining table look a little bit more interesting, I'm just going to go ahead and select the bottom 4 verts and then just press S and then scale it down. Alright, so we get that kind of a shape. Just to add more of interest, you could add another loop cut over here and then just scale it out slightly. So we add in a little bit of bend. If you want to add one more over here, we could do that. Oops. Scale it down. Scale this down. To select an entire loop, just hit Alt and then right click. Okay, so we're just giving our table some nice interesting shape. So cool. We now have a very basic dining table modeled, but that's not really the shape of a table. We're missing some parts. We're missing these little support beams on the sides of our table. So in order to do that, it's yet again the same thing. We just have to create a cube, tab into edit mode. Let's click out over here, Shift A, cube, scale it down. Let's move it into place on the top view. Let's scale it out on the x-axis, and this time I can allow it to touch on the clipping. Let it stick, it doesn't matter. And then what we're going to do is from the side view, let's scale it down. On the top, let's just put it up. I'm just going to create these little support beams. SY to make it thin. This is really up to you how thick and thin you want the support frames to look like. Yeah, something like that. And then since clipping is enabled, just move out the verts until it locks into place with the legs. And then we'll also need to move it out to around about there. Looks good. Cool. And we're going to do the same thing onto this side as well. So again, I'm going to go Shift D and then move it down. This time I'm going to turn off clipping temporarily, and then go SZ90, and then move it out on the x-axis, and then simply just let it connect, turn on clipping, and let it stick with each other, and go grab GZ, and then GX, and then move it into place like so. And now we have completed our basic dining table. The problem with our dining table right now is that the edges are too sharp. When you look at a dining table, if you look very closely, the edges aren't that sharp. We need to add some smoothness to it. So in order to do that, we have to add a bit of bevel to our model. And luckily we have 3D modeling tools that can achieve this. So all you need to do is change from the vertice mode to the edge mode. Then select the edge over here, and maybe this one as well. Then go ahead and hit Control B to add a bevel, and then just scroll up to add some more cuts to it to make the smoothing a lot more nicer. So I'm just going to drag out to about there, and if you tab out, you can see we have a bit of smoothness. So that's exactly what we want to do. We'll also do the same thing to this side as well. Add a bit of smoothness to this side. And then we don't need to change the scrolling, but just maybe increase it out like so. Then we have some nice smoothness going on. I might also do the same for this. So Control B, and like so. We've now made our dining table more smooth. So I'm just going to go now and do the same for the legs and the support beams. Just smooth out the edges, make it less harsh. Okay, so now our dining table model is complete. Let's go ahead and texture it. So for the texturing part, I'm going to go ahead first and save this. Alright, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and apply the mirror modifier. So after this, I can't reverse my changes. It now becomes part of the final model. So once I go to edit mode, you'll see that all the verts are now final, and I can modify anything that I want. And anything I modify on this side will not be reflected onto any of the other sides. So it now becomes a standalone model in itself. Okay, so always apply and modifiers once you're happy with everything, and only do it as a last step to anything. So since I'm happy with my table model, I can go ahead now and start to texture it. So to texture it, I need to first UV unwrap this for texturing. So let's change over to the UV editing tab, and I want to start with the top slab of the table, this over here, but not anything else. So I'm just going to go ahead and double tap A on my keyboard, and then try again. Hit L to select those linked vertices of the top. The vertices are scattered everywhere. It's not pretty good, so I'm just going to go to the top view and hit U, project from view. And then I'm just going to hit A, and then in the UV edit, I'm just going to scale it up so that it fits, almost fits the boundaries, like so. Cool. I guess that's about all I'm going to really care about on that. I'm not going to spend too much time with this. For this one, I guess the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and select all these ones, and these ones as well. And then, oh, they actually seem to have okay UV unwrapping, but anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and hit U, project from view, select all these ones and scale it up. I might just select this one on its own, scale it up quite a bit, S to scale up, then double A and then hit B, box select that one, scale it up as well. Also we need to go to the side view and do the same for this side. Double tap to deselect everything and just paint everything that I see over here. So just like that, just paint. Do the same on this side. And I guess also have it reflect on this side as well. Just select only the side ones. Cool. And now I'm going to go ahead and in side view, hit U, project from view, scale everything up to about like that. And also finally, I think I have to do the same thing for this. This one and this one. And I guess also this part over here. And this part. I mean, the UV unwrapping is not going to be perfect. I'm going to have to tweak them some more later. So U, project from view, scale it up. And then now I would say that the UV unwrapping for the table is done. I mean, it's not perfect. We'll come back to it later and fix it, but yeah, I'm sort of rushing through this a little bit. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to start to add in the textures. So for the textures, I'm going to go ahead and change to, I guess, shading. Go ahead and hit save, just in case. Since my Blender 2.8 is a beta version, anything can crash. So right now we can see that we have a basic shader set up for us, the principal shader. Now the shader that I'm going to use, the texture that I'm going to use is run from textures.com. Now the texture that I'm going to use is fine wenge hardwood. You can find it from textures.com. You don't have to use this particular texture. You can go ahead and grab any other wooden texture that looks good. But for my case, I went ahead and downloaded the albedo, the normal, and the roughness map that's available generally with most of these textures from textures.com. So once you're in Blender, I'm going to go ahead and grab those downloaded textures. So from downloads, I'm just going to go ahead and import them into my into the shader. So let's just grab the normal, the albedo, and the roughness. And the texture process is quite simple. Just plug the albedo into the base color, and it's not positioned correctly, but we'll fix that later in the UV map again. We plug the roughness into the roughness. So where's the roughness? Over here. Okay, it looks really shiny. I have to control that. And finally we plug the normal. First off, we plug the normal into a vector normal map. Oh, sorry, not that one. Normal map. Plug the color into the color. Change this color from color to non-color data. That's important. And then plug the normal into the normal, so that we get a more realistic bump on our dining table. Okay, so the shading part is done and our table looks, well, realistic, which is pretty cool. But we're not quite done yet. We need to fix the UV editing. So first of all, what I want to do is I'm going to select everything and hit R90 to flip it 90 degrees. Then tab out. Let's go to shading now and have a look if that looks okay. Sorry, tab out and tab in again, and now it looks better. We're getting the wooden lines going in that direction. But again, I feel like the UV editing, I feel like this wood texture is too large. It needs to be a bit smaller. So I'm just going to hit S2 to scale it 2 times, and then let's have a look at it. I think that looks even better now. So I think I'm quite happy with that one. There's some further improvements that I want to do. Change the shader type to UV editor, and then tab into edit mode, and let's go ahead and select the parts that don't look right. So these parts over here, gonna go in and fix these up. Oops. Okay, it's just the front parts, and then simply just hit R90 minus, make sure it's going in that direction. Same with this one. Now we have the legs going in the right direction as well, and I think the texturing part is now done. So let's have a look at this in a single view. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Let's go back to the modeling view, tap out of edit mode, and I'm going to change this from so I'm going to change this to the look dev mode, and we can see straight away that our table is looking really awesome. So that's it. That's how you model, texture, UV edit, and shade a realistic looking dining table in Blender 2.8. I hope this video has been useful, and please like and share, subscribe, and all that stuff if you're into this kind of thing. Thanks for watching.